This is the iPhone 7 Plus, the 10th generation of iPhone, the one that ditched the headphone jack. Is it still worth it in 2020? Let's find out. The iPhone 7 was launched in 2016 and therefore it might look kinda stale and standard, but it yet remains an iconic design. Like a simple glance at it can tell that it's surely an iPhone. The one you're looking at has been used for over 3 years now and still works like a breeze. It has a pretty chunky forehead and chin, especially compared to devices nowadays. There is also a circle at the bottom of the phone that is called a home button. It doesn't actually click as it's just a slab of glass, but it's pressure sensitive. So when pressed, it gives the feeling of a click generated by the haptic feedback engine inside the phone. It's really easy to get used to it, and it also functions as a fingerprint sensor, aka Touch ID. Touch ID has been really great to a point that you don't even notice there is a fingerprint scanner when you press the button to power the phone. Takes you right to the home screen. It's a no-brainer and you'll just set it up once and forget about it. I still like the overall design of the phone as it has a classic and iconic kind of vibe to it. It has an aluminium back and frame that is really smooth, always cold, and feels really solid to hold. The power button is on the right side and the volume rocker is on the left side, right under the alert slider, which is used to change sound modes. And it yet remains a great feature to have, as Apple has also kept it in their latest iPhones. On the bottom of the device there is a lightning port for charging, and as you've noticed, there is no headphone jack. This was the big move Apple made, as this was the first iPhone, or actually any big phone for that matter, to get rid of the jack and kick off the trend that almost all other smartphone manufacturers followed. And of course, it was no coincidence that Apple launched the AirPods in the same keynote they announced the iPhone 7. Anyway, the loss of the headphone jack was a big deal back then, but now we don't see it in most premium smartphones. Moving on, here is your spec rundown for the iPhone 7 Plus. It has a 5.5-inch Retina LCD Full HD display panel that goes to a max brightness of 625 nits. It features Apple's A10 Fusion chip, which can be considered great even in today's standards. It comes in 32, 128 or 256GB of storage with 3GB of RAM and has a 2900 mAh battery that is passable as it can yet manage to last a full day. A feature that is not in new iPhones is 3D touch. The screen of the iPhone 7 is pressure sensitive and you can toggle things like the flashlight and camera from the lock screen and app menus on the home screen by literally pressing on the screen. It's fun to play around with but doesn't serve any real purpose. Maybe that's the reason Apple got rid of it. Before we move to the cameras, this was also the first water-resistant iPhone. It is certified to be IP67 dust and water-resistant, so it won't mind being taken to a shower and can also survive slight splashes and spills. However, the speakers sound muffled for about a day after contact with water, but they get back to normal after that, so it's not a big deal. The phone also has a stereo speaker setup with a speaker at the bottom and one at the earpiece, and it produces sound with great amount of highs and bass, and it doesn't disappoint overall, as Apple has always been good with speakers. There is a dual camera setup on the back of the phone with a 12 megapixel main sensor with an aperture of 1.8 paired with a 12 megapixel 2x telephoto sensor with an aperture of 2.8. The camera yet holds up great and you can have a look for yourselves with these sample pictures. The phone can also shoot 4K video at 30 frames per second. The front camera is a 7 megapixel sensor with an aperture of 2.2 and also manages to pull out great results. When it comes to performance, Apple's A10 Fusion chip yet crushes any demanding task thrown at it, and can play even the latest gaming titles without any stutters or frame drops. The A10 Fusion chip was considered ahead of time when it initially released with this iPhone, and now is when that advantage really matters in terms of speed and performance. Bottom line is that the iPhone 7 Plus has held up really well in my years of usage. And take my word for it that this phone will not disappoint even in 2020, and it can also be picked up for pretty cheap on Amazon. I'll provide the links right below the like button. And for a price of under $200, there is really nothing to complain about this phone. It has great cameras, performance, and also the build quality remains solid. So if you're looking for a phone in this price range, this is a great option to consider. With that said, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.